Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here for the Green Film Festival of San Francisco. We're really excited to see you here. As you know, we've kind of gone into this kind of hybrid route where many of our films are both screening at the Roxy and also for you to enjoy online. So if you've watched this film online and you still have a chance to see it in the theater, let your friends know, and we'll look forward to seeing you. We just have a really delightful film for the bees, and we're lucky enough to have filmmakers, Chloe and Adam here. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
It's a really beautiful story, and it was kind of neat to kind of stumble upon in the submissions. Maybe a good place to start is, how did you kind of meet Collette and know that there was kind of this story that you wanted to tell?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Collette is a beekeeper, and he owns a bee, like a honey shop in Oakland, California. And myself, along with the whole crew, kind of live in the Bay Area. And so I think we had been aware of his honey shop, and we were looking for to do more an in-depth documentary piece on a business owner. And so ended up chatting with him and found out a lot more about his story that we didn't know about, and that most people wouldn't know about from, just walking into his honey shop.
And what was one of the things that most kind of surprised you, that you knew that there was a kind of a bigger story there to tell?
Well, Collette comes from a background of a couple generations of beekeepers, and he's originally from Yemen, and there are traces of that around his honey shop. But as we started to get to know him more, he shared more about his time in Yemen and coming over here in his 20s, and trying to cultivate a beekeeping business over here. And also, I think the crisis in Yemen is something that people hear about here and there, but it's not really always front page news. But it's really like a big issue, and that has been going on for a while and continues to go on.
Yeah, and I think for him in particular, it was interesting, but it was very interesting and kind of heart-wrenching to hear his personal connection with that, and not just from the country where he's at, but how he was personally affected by a lot of that.
Yeah, well, and you guys mentioned that originally this was kind of being a profile on a business owner. So was this project kind of a collaboration, with Yelp, and also then how did the story kind of evolve from what you originally wanted to have in the portrait to kind of realizing there was kind of a larger film there?
Yeah, well, I come from a documentary background, and we do a series at Yelp called Behind the Business, where we make these smaller, like, micro documentaries on business owners all around the country. And as we were getting to know Collette, it just seemed like this was a much bigger story. And we also were lucky that we're all in the Bay Area, and so had more kind of flexibility in terms of kind of developing that relationship and really getting to spend that time with him.
And I think, one thing that people are always kind of curious specifically about the filmmaking process is like the kind of, point of view and kind of visual aesthetic. So like, how did the kind of just like who Collette was, and also just the kind of art of beekeeping, how did it affect the way that you wanted to kind of film and photograph the story?
Totally. Yeah. Well, I'll first say, anyone who's in the Bay Area, I highly encourage you to go to his honey shop in Oakland and try to meet him in person, because he is, he loves his craft in so many ways. And that's really apparent from just talking with him for a couple of minutes. He loves talking about bees. He loves talking about saving bees and beekeeping and honey.
Yeah, I was just going to add that, like, if you do actually go to his shop, make sure you set aside enough time to fully engage with him, because he'll sit with you for hours.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
an amazing guy. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. And so, we knew going into it that we really wanted to, you know, like convey his love for bees and beekeeping in a way that maybe most people don't have a perspective for bees. So, you know, a lot of the times we just see bees flying around and, you know, maybe they're buzzing and they're maybe annoying, but we really wanted to bring to light, you know, especially in terms of using these like macro lenses where we go into the beehives, like really show the beauty and the intricacies of bees, and also the beauty of honey and everything else.
Truly a local product in that way. You know, you mentioned this idea that you have this kind of series that you guys collaborate and put together. How do you, you know, I think people always wonder, like, how do people find kind of documentary stories and characters? And so, yeah, what are the way that kind of cultivate, you know, some of the kind of prospective business owners that you profile, and how do you, you know, kind of, I mean, is it word of mouth? Is, you know, like, what's the kind of way that you, because I mean, this is just a really special story. And so I can imagine it might be a little bit like a needle in the haystack sort of thing.
Yes, very much so. I think we're always looking for stories. You know, I think a lot of it, as probably many documentary filmmakers know, a lot of it is word of mouth or reading, you know, finding things in articles, talking to people. Yeah, and we're always looking for different stories. So yeah, if you guys know of anyone, if anyone who's listening, we're always looking for them.
Yeah. I'll also say that, like, you know, we, through this process of doing, like Chloe mentioned, the more micro documentaries we have with other businesses and other people, there are so many interesting stories out there that you don't realize until you actually do scratch that surface. I mean, obviously, you know, some people have an amazing, perfect life and everything's wonderful and there's no whatever. I'm sure they still have an interesting story too, but more often than not, when we kind of go into some of these and we think like, oh, this is going to be just like a nice story about this business or whatever, and we really kind of get into it, and like it's amazing how interesting certain people's stories are and how shocked we are on a somewhat regular basis. Like, wow, okay, that's way more than we ever thought we were going to get into, but that's wonderful.
Yeah, I guess it's all about that extra bit of time that you give to kind of let them open up in that way.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Well, I think it's reflective in the film. It's just really neat. And I guess I should go out saying, what does Collette think about the film, and what did he think about seeing his story on screen?
Yeah, it was really special, yeah, to show it to him. Actually, if you go into his honey shop, you'll see that he has kind of mirrors all over the shop, and there are kind of like hexagon shelves throughout that are in front of the mirrors. And so when we showed it to him, we went into his shop and screened it there, and it was an unusual experience because we could see his face through the mirror, which is like an unusual experience as a filmmaker to like see someone's reaction as happening. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad, yeah, he's enjoyed it, and yeah, he's excited to come to the screenings as well.
Very cool. What's a good way to kind of continue to follow your work, or even kind of see other things in the series if folks are interested in going down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, so the Behind the Business has a YouTube playlist that's on Yelp's YouTube page. So there's that, and we kind of continue to do those series. Yeah, I also run a documentary discovery platform called DocuVist, where it's like a place to discover lots of different types of documentaries, and it also has resources from the documentary filmmakers paired with each film.
Very cool. Well, thanks again for joining us, Chloe and Adam, and thank Collette for us, and thanks again for being part of the Green Film Festival San Francisco.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.